Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to GPI's Business to Lunch and Learn webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to type your questions on the chat feature, and I'll respond throughout the presentation. Today's presentation in our Lunch and Learn webinar will be on the Hub Zone program. The last 2 weeks, we've covered a couple of SBA certifications from the Women's Owned Small Business Program, and last week's coverage was as it related to the SBA Business Development Program. So today we're going to cover the Hub Zone program. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to go to the chat feature and type in your question, and I will respond. So, as I always open up, because I want you to get familiar with what these government-wide small business goals are, because understanding this positions your business better to help the government achieve goals. Everything is driven by goals. I'm always reiterating that every year, 23% of contracts are set aside for small businesses. Within those 23%, 5% of those contracts are set aside for the 8A program, 5% is set aside for the Women's Owned Small Business Program, 3% for the Hub Zone program, and 3% for the Service Disabled Veteran Owned program. Last year alone, or the last fiscal year, the federal government awarded $90.7 billion to small businesses. Out of that $90.7 billion, $6.4 billion went to small businesses. You can see 6.4 billion went to the Hub Zone program. So as you can see as you look at the percentage, as a whole, the federal government achieved their goals in all of the other program areas except for the Hub Zone program. So what this is telling you is if you're in business and if you qualify into the Hub Zone program, then I would hurry up and go ahead and get qualified into it, because you know that you're going to be in a position to help the federal government because they did not meet their goals. Again, these programs require self-certifications. There's no formal certifications. And again, there's only 2 programs that requires the formal certifications, which is the 8A Business Development Program and the Hub Zone program, which we're discussing today. Now, what is exactly the Hub Zone program? Again, it's based on your business and location. It has to be located in an area that the federal government has designated as a historically underutilized business zone. And 35% of your employees must reside in a Hub Zone, not necessarily the same Hub Zone that your business is in, just as long as they're in a Hub Zone. What are the benefits of this program? The benefits of this program is once you are qualified into the program, it applies to purchases that are over $3,000. There's no term limit. The 8A program is one that will have a term limit, whereas the Hub Zone, there's no term set into it. You're just going to recertify every 3 years as long as you still meet those qualifications. You also are eligible for competitive and sole source competition, meaning you're going to only compete with firms that are part of that program. You also have the opportunity to get a sole source contract in this program. The difference with getting and obtaining sole source contracts with this program and the women's program and as a service disabled veteran on small businesses, the federal government has to make sure there are still 2 businesses that can perform on those contracts. Whereas in the 8A program, they don't have those same type of stipulations. they can just award that contract to you without being concerned whether or not they found two businesses that can perform on that contract. What they call from that end of it is the rule of two, meaning they have to be able to identify two businesses or in that program in order to set it aside. Again, if you have any questions, please use the chat feature and question and answer, and I will respond to your question. The other benefit of this is once you're in that program and the federal government sets aside a full and open competition, you submit a bid, they will provide what they call a 10% price evaluation preference to your cost. Now, to give you an example, let's say there's a contract that you submitted and your bid went in at $535,000. You have a large business that went in and they submitted their bid at $500,000. So what that means is the federal government will put 10%, add an additional 10% on that large business cost of $550,000, making their cost $550,000, and your cost remains $535,000, which makes you the lower bid. Does that make sense? Again, the two requirements of this program is that it must be located in a hub zone. 35% of your employees must live in a hub zone. And everything is referenced to what we call the FAR, which stands for the Federal Acquisition Regulation. So anytime you don't understand a program, you can Google FAR 19.13. It's going to give you a little bit more in-depth experience. I'm also going to go to the actual, give you a little bit more insight on the program. I have a question, and it asks, can we apply for certification after we open a business in the hub zone and then hire? That is some of the things that I'm getting ready to cover as we go over what actually will be required for you once you end the program and applying into the program. So when I look at the actual application guide, let me just increase the fonts in this guide, and I'll upload this on our website. So if you haven't gotten a password and been able to log into the gpiwin.com website, I encourage you to, because I'll provide the supporting documentation in your resource folder as part of your back office support. Looking at this, it's going to give you a pretty much broad perspective of the program and exactly what it is and what are the exact eligibility requirements. As always, all of SBA's programs require that your business is at least 51% owned and controlled by whoever's applying into that particular program. It also must be a small business. Now, how do we define small business? Small business is based on your NAICS codes, which stands for North American Industry Classification System. Every industry will have a code associated with it. And when you register in SBA's database, they're going to look at your revenue for the last 3 years and average. And if your revenue exceeds that dollar amount associated with that code, you're no longer classified as a small business. So all these programs are for all small business. Again, if you go down here, they're going to tell you that your principal office must be located in that hub zone, and at least 35% of that your employees reside in a hub zone. Not necessarily the same hub zone where your business is, but as long as they reside in a hub zone. Now, these hub zones are determined by the Census Bureau. Every 10 years, they'll go out and take the data that they've gathered from the census to determine who qualifies into a hub zone. So they're called census tracts. And usually urban areas are considered are qualified based on the census tract. And these are the things that they are developing, that's determining whether or not they qualify or qualify in those census tracts. You also can have counties. A whole county can be considered a hub zone. And to me, the benefit of that's the easiest way to continue to stay qualified into that program, because it's based on your office location and the 35% of your employees residing in a hub zone. So if you have a county and your business is in a hub zone county, to me, that's an easier way, because you're not necessarily having to always keep track of those 35% employees, because you know that you're going to hire from within that county. So you're not necessarily having to determine and keep track of that 35%. That to me has been the common challenge of this program, where you're constantly trying to maintain that 35%. Because if you come out of compliance, you have to report that to SBA and fill that position or that slot with another person that resides in the hub zone area. So if we go down here, again, you'll have qualified, certain reservations have been designated as hub zones. And then you also have what they call qualified base closure area, the BRAC, meaning where they have closed in, where they've gone in and closed military bases. They've designated those cities and areas around those bases as hub zones, because they understand that when you close a military base, it impacts that whole community. So in order to help build up that community, they will designate that particular area as a hub zone. Again, the 8A program is based on building your business. This program is strictly based on building your community. When I look at this program, I always equate it to what Magic Johnson did. Magic Johnson, from a commercial aspect of it, did the same thing. He went into urban areas, and he built movie theaters. He partnered with Pepsi and the movie theaters, and then he hired within those communities. So it's the same concept that Magic Johnson has already did. Now, how do you qualify into this program? They're going to make sure when you apply or get the application, these are some of the requirements that you're going to have to submit as part of the applications if you are in any one of these entities. They're also going to ask for all of these information: tax returns, your personal tax returns, again, trying to determine who's really controlling this business, and if you really truly are a small business. They're going to want proof of citizenship for the owners. Right here. I used to have to do, in Philadelphia, I was a SBA Hub Zone liaison. So I often every year they would give us a list of companies that had been qualified into the program, where I literally had to go out there and see if they were legit. And part of my site visit, I would request this information because I am confirming that you are truly living in those places. And believe it or not, sometimes when I went to those sites, it could be a parking lot. And what people don't realize is when you win contracts and you lie to the government, that's fraud. Mm-hmm. That is fraud. So you cannot lie to the government and win contracts. They will come after you. I have another question from someone asking about her home being in the Clayton County, and can she qualify for a hub zone if she lives in that area? If you have your business as a home-based business, and your business or your home is in a hub zone area, and you're the only employee of that business, then yes, you should be able to qualify because you meet the 35% goal. Does that answer your question? Again, 35% is the key. And now, how are they going to determine whether or not you are in that 35%? They're going to ask for payroll records. Those employees also will have to provide copies of their driver's license, anything that's going to document that they are 35%, and they have to at least work this many hours a week. But you can have employees on a part-time basis as long as they work 40 hours in a month's time. So you will need to provide that type of supporting documentation as part of it. Unemployment tax. This is where they're going to ask for copies of driver's license from your employees. And these are the certification forms for different other ethnic groups, the ANC. So they have different regulations. And all of this is done online. If you'll go to SBA and go to their website, you can see where the application is. And I'm going to take you to that to the website. Again, these are the things that's going to be required for you to have. You need to be registered in SAM, and you must have a Dun & Bradstreet number. Okay, let's go to the actual, I'm going to also provide you just with a brief overview of the supporting documentations. This is just a cursory of everything that I've just covered. And I'll definitely upload this in the resource folder. So if you go to the folder, you should be able to find this information as a cheat sheet of exactly what you need to submit as part of your application when you are submitting it online. Lease agreement, utility bills. I have a question that asks, that says her business is not listed as her primary place of business. She works home from sometimes. That would not qualify. Wherever your business is listed with the state and what address that you use with the state and on your tax returns, that's what they're going to look for. That's why they're asking for this additional documentation. Okay. Proof of residence for those subzones. So you have a whole package to submit. I have one more question from Eric. Does it affect being qualified into the Hub Zone program if you have been in business less than 3 years? No, it does not affect that. You can start a business today, and as long as you meet those 2 qualifications, you can apply into that program. And I do encourage you to, because again, you still get the benefits of limiting your competitions. That's the whole benefit of this program. Now let's go into the actual Hub Zone map. If you Google SBA Hub Zone, map. That's how you can get to the hub zone map. But if you also looking to apply, this is also where you would go to apply. So I've taken you to the SBA Hub Zone program area, where it's going to demonstrate where you can apply. This is going to provide you with the links and pretty much cover what I've just covered, giving you a frequently asked question, and again, the things that I have provided and discussed earlier. So let's do an address. My previous employer at SBA was located down on Peachtree, which is in the center of downtown Atlanta. You have Deloitte and you have the Marriott. You have a lot of high-end businesses located there. And surprisingly enough, that area has been designated as a hub zone. It's been designated as a hub zone because, again, the hub zone program is based on low income, high unemployment. So when you look at that area, they have a large shelter right around the corner. So that's the reason that area has been designated. This is also the website where you go, where you will type in any of your employees' addresses, as well as where your business address. Okay, let me try something again. Say I need to put in Georgia. Okay. So when you put in the address, what you're going to see, the first thing, let me increase the, is yes, this is a hub zone qualified area, and it's going to identify the address. Everything that is located in orange has been designated as hub zone. Oftentimes you'll see hub zones near universities or schools because they're still collecting that data from those students based on low income, high unemployment. So you often would find a hub zone in those particular areas. Again, if you look at counties, let's do a search based on a county. You can go here and look at counties that are designated as hub zones. I have a couple of people that are online from Alabama, and I'm going to look up some counties that are in Alabama that are potentially hub zones. Let's see. Can anyone type a county for me? Let's look at Cherokee. Okay. When you look at Cherokee County, this map is showing to me the areas that are in Cherokee County that have been designated as hub zones. And then it's going to give you a little description of why and how they designated that particular area, those areas as qualified hub zones. Someone just typed in Jefferson County in Alabama. Let's see about Jefferson. Because right here, these is already telling me, if you can see here, these are the counties that are designated as hub zones. So if I go to any area that's designated or in the orange area, it's going to narrow it down to the streets in the area, the streets. That was Alabama. But you can somewhat get the gist of what I'm looking at and how you go about determining if you qualify into the program. And then with that being said, it's now 12:30. I'm going to open it up for questions. I hope this covered and answered a lot of information for you. Please note that we continue this series in the next week or two. I'll be bringing on some other subject matter experts. But in the meantime, I do encourage you to join the GPI community now. Go to our website, take the readiness test, and you can determine how you can obtain federal contracts. We also now have our online and our live 8-week boot camp. They are available online, so you can also go to www.gpiwin.com to register. I do have one more question from Carissa. Her question is, if your business address was initially qualified and then you lose its address designation, do you need to move your business? Well, what will happen is there's a period of what they call a grandfather clause. When the census did the census in 2010, and I was in Pennsylvania in 2012, because they had two states that were close together, New York and Pennsylvania, a lot of hub zone counties in Pennsylvania and places were redesignated because, again, it was based on low income, high unemployment. And you were having companies from New York, people living in Pennsylvania and going to New York to work, which brought up the income for those areas. So they went through a whole cycle with SBA, and SBA determined that they would, what they call grandfather, a certain amount of time and businesses into the program. Did I answer your question? Okay. With that being said, I thank you for your support, and I hope to see you next week. Bye.